Okay, good afternoon everybody here in the Grand Hotel. Great pleasure being here and to have the opportunity to present you Scandinavian Biogas story and way forward, as well as appreciating that quite many of you are online. My name is, I'm just trying to see if it works. Now it works. So Matti Vikkula is my name. I have been the CEO of the company now around 10 years plus and been part of the journey so far. What is all about what we are talking today? Biogas is a green energy, green methane, CH4, which is produced on using different organic matters, organic streams, and especially waste streams. When we are producing the gas, it is a microbiological process. Bacteria are doing the job. It's very important that you have a high know-how and capability on assuring optimal circumstances for the bacteria to do the job. The output of the project is that we have three kinds of products. We have the energy, we have the biofertilizer, and we have green CO2. Today we are using the energy and we are using the biofertilizer. In future we are also taking full benefit of the green CO2. The biogas can be used in three ways. You can use it for producing heat and power, which has been very typical in Germany, which is the leading market in Europe. You can upgrade the gas, clean it, and you can use it as a vehicle gas, which has been very typical here in Sweden. And the other alternative is that you inject it into the gas grid, if you have the gas grid nearby, and that has been very typical, for example, in Denmark. The third way of using the biogas is to liquefy the upgraded biogas, so it becomes bio-LNG, a comparable product with LNG, which offers much better opportunities to transport the biogas and the energy, and as well offers new customer segments to start using it. So this is the frame for biogas and biogas industry as a whole. Last year was a game-changing year for us as an industry in Europe. So far, main interest has been to enhance the benefits for the climate, but all of a sudden, given the Ukraine war, one of the key issues in Europe is how can we assure increased domestic energy supply in Europe. Huge demand, huge interest. EU Commission even has increased substantially targets for biogas. How do we use biogas in the future as we see it? The main solution, as we see, is the liquid biogas, bio-LNG, used especially in heavy truck segment. Here on this slide, you see also what is the infrastructural coverage in Europe. It is already quite extended. It's very useful and easy to use for transportation companies. What I would like to flag here is that one of the leading countries here is Germany. And we signed last year an important deal agreement with German Alten, which is a leading distributor in Germany for bio-LNG and LNG. They have around 40% market share of the filling stations. So, and we signed an agreement on a level of 1 terawatt hours, or respectively 2.7 billion Swedish crowns worth, with the current market prices then. The other segment which is very promising is shipping. We are waiting additional regulation from EU Commission perspective to require a certain share of bunkering to be based on green energies, and that will then boost the demand even in this sector. There are already around 500 ships using LNG, bio-LNG globally. Either they are already in operation or will be soon. Third segment, which is important as well in the future, is the industrial usage. However, we believe that the price point will be a bit lower for the industrial use, and therefore the main users will be the heavy transportation and shipping. What we have been seeing lately is that there's a huge interest from the capital market side to be part of the biomethane transformation, given the game-changing nature which started last year. Goldman Sachs has just recently published that they will invest 1 billion euros within biomethane in the near future. Shell took over a leading Scandinavian player, Nature Energy, with an enterprise value of $2 billion. We have seen Varo also to invest in this sector, not only in biogas but in net zero energies as well. And especially what I would like to reflect for is that European Biogas Association has agreed with the EU Commission to establish a joint task force to facilitate the growth in order to achieve a 340 terawatt hours target 2030, which actually was doubled after the Ukrainian war. What about us? At the end of last year, we had an order book on a level of 2.4 terawatt hours. You can compare it with last year's production level, which was a bit less than 400 gigawatt hours. So it's given last year's volumes, it's like on a level of six years need or supplies. Last year we also confirmed our long-term targets to grow from a bit less than around 400 gigawatt hours to 3,000 gigawatt hours, 3 terawatt hours 2030 production capacity, and have a target to achieve 2026 1.2 terawatt hours volume. That implies that we are now in a very strong growth phase, looking for new growth opportunities, and we established last year a growth-oriented organization in order to enhance the growth in the Northern European markets, which we define as our home market, Nordics, Germany, Benelux and Poland included. Pipeline is very well aligned, and what I would like then especially to highlight is that this game-changing year last year also boosted the prices, the selling prices of our bioenergy. We see ourselves to receive a major premium on our sales prices. And on this figure you see that earlier on, as we call it scan old, that was the price level we have been receiving so far for our biomethane in Scandinavia, around 900 Swedish crowns per megawatt hour. But now, given the change, we see that we get a 50%, 100% premium, so the prices in the new agreements are on a level of 1,400, 1,800 SEK per megawatt hour. And even then in the German transport sector, we have an even higher price given this Alten agreement. We can achieve a price level on a level of 2,700 Swedish crowns per megawatt hour. However, we'll point out that majority of this is based on green certificates and minority is based on the energy itself. What is worth noting that in the old world, our agreements were long-term agreements, fixed prices, annual indexation. Now the new agreements are much more dynamic, so there is a upside and downside. We are having a leverage and positive leverage on when price is going up, but also have some impact when it's going down. In a way, we are sharing the benefit with our distributors and customers. And the graph itself is showing how the transformation is going from the old agreements to the new agreements within the forthcoming months and years. And as you can see that during the second half, when part of our renegotiated agreements are in use, as well as we will start deliveries of bio-LNG from our facility here in Stockholm region in Södertörn. So during the second half of this year, the new prices will have say around 30% share of our supplies. This is very important transformation, and is substantially going to impact our profitability, and is very vital to assess when assessing how the profitability of the company is developing. We have also ongoing negotiations with the existing agreements in order to adjust them according to the market circumstances. A couple of words on the full annual level, 2022. Our supplies last year were somewhat lower than year before due to the fact that the turmoil in the market also boosted some cost for some raw materials. We were forced to not to continue using glycerin due to the price, and we were not able to put that price on customer side, so we reduced volumes. Besides of the 1 terawatt-hour agreement with Alten Oil, we were also able to sign an agreement with a Scandinavian Nordic energy distributor for transportation sector on a level of 300 gigawatt hours. We are very pleased to have a very positive and good pipeline for our growth. Last year also, from the Swedish perspective, it was an interesting decision by the EU Tribunal. Sweden was granted a tax benefit for biogas for 10 years. It was appealed, and the Tribunal decision was that it was with reason, and now that has not been appealed neither from EU perspective or Swedish government perspective, and that means that biogas is now has the obligation to pay energy tax in Sweden, and the implication for that will be that for certain customers the energy prices when using biogas will go slightly up and probably will have some impact in terms of volumes. From our side, we are not that worried on the volumes given the fact that we are able to produce bio-LNG, and we have the opportunity to even export it in case the volumes would get lower here in our home market. Just a couple of points of the last year, or Q4 last year. The most important point was that we are aiming to grow pretty fast. We made an important investment decision at the end of the year. So here in Sweden, we have already started investing in Mönsterås for a large-scale biogas facility on a level of 120 gigawatt hours. It is a very important milestone given the fact that it's in cooperation with the local farmers. They are co-owners in the project, and they are long-term suppliers of their raw material in terms of manure and other side products from agricultural sector. This is very important because the future growth is based on this kind of a standardization, this kind of a business model, this kind of a feedstock for the additional facilities to come. We also finalized during the last year a share issue on a level of 330 million Swedish crowns around. Consequence of that was that the 4 largest shareholders own now 70% of the company. Largest shareholder being Aneo from Norway. They own a bit more than 1/3. The second one is ST1, Finnish energy distributor. They jointly have around 50% stake of the company. Our volumes have been, during the last years, sales volumes pretty stable. However, the profitability last year we were not at all pleased with. One of the facts was that during the first half, the production subsidy, which we have had here in Sweden, we didn't have the possibility to get it due to administrative reasons from the government side. And then during the fourth quarter, we had very high electricity prices, and that impacted our business and operations in those regions where we had not full hedging. There we had also some extra cost in when commissioning our facility in Norway, as we call Skogn 2 at that facility. Cash flow-wise, operative cash flow lower. At the end of the year, the net cash was 560 million crowns. The use of funds is mainly allocated to growth as we are growing very fast with 3 projects ongoing. And this is showing the net debt position around 108 million Swedish net debt without leasing agreements. In terms of the way forward, we have communicated a very clear target to reach 2024 a 30% EBITDA. This is driven by volume increase by at least 30% when comparing 24-22. We see that the average sales price is increasing at least 40% for the same period. We also see that there is a certain cost increase in feedstock and other raw materials. However, the increase is lower per gigawatt hour much lower than the sales price increase. Altogether, we see ourselves to be able to deliver a positive before tax result when our Stockholm LBG project is commissioned. We started this summer, forthcoming summer, and as well as the Mönsterås project is commissioned, which we are planning to start next year, second half. And for both projects, we have received a reasonable volume. This is the summary of the growth project which we are now already working with, and they are progressing well. I don't go into those details, but as a last slide, I would like to flag for this production capacity targets. As I mentioned, we are aiming to reach 1.2 terawatt hours 2026, and implying that we will additionally make investment decisions around for 4 projects in the same size as Mönsterås. Total investment budget in the range of 3 billion Swedish crowns or 300 million euros. That is something which we are now actively working with, as the ambition is to make those decisions before the end of next year, and also to assure the financing with current shareholders, with new shareholders, and with our financing partners. This year, and this is more or less the view how the company could look like after all these investments, the coverage in the Northern European area. Final word is related to this year. As I mentioned, we are in a transition with our share prices, with the new agreements. We are improving the profitability based on those agreements, as well as the bio-LNG production in Södertörn, which is to be commissioned. However, the first half is a bit challenging due to the fact that the index model we have in our agreements is hitting us more on the cost side, and we are getting on the benefit side. So overall, thank you very much. Ready for your questions, and we are working actively to contribute in the energy security as well as the green transition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matti. You are, like all companies, very much in the hands of policymakers. And of course, we have the discussion that I asked one of the previous speakers about the biomass directive, of course. How is this affecting you? And also the discussion of changing the reduction flight in terms of how we mix the fuels.
Yeah, of course, the biogas directive is very much impacting on which kind of, raw materials we can use with the favorable CO2 profile. But overall, we are very well equipped that, and we think that it's benefiting the overall industry. What we are a bit concerned is that the administrative processes will be quite extensive.
And how about the mixing in the fuels, the reduction directive? Of course, there's a Swedish discussion. We all know about this one, but there's also a changing of the percentage from an EU perspective.
EU perspective, yes. I mean, the fact is that in the EU, the regulation is very fragmented for green energy. Each of the member countries have their own regulation, and it's taking quite a lot of time in order to follow it. I think that if we would have a unified approach, and if we would have a unified approach on assuring a certain kind of mixing share in the energy portfolio, it would be quite easy for all of us to understand how it works.
And that might just be in place. You don't know.
Let's see.
But let's hope for it, because
yes.
It will and for sure facilitate the transition faster.
Would do so.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation, and best of luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.